a Wild West serial killer and cannibal outlaw, whose crimes granted him the title the Kentucky Cannibal. In this video we will go over the life and crimes of one of the most vicious Wild West outlaws ever, Boone Helm. Levi Boone Helm was born in 1828 in Lincoln County, a small county in Kentucky. Boone's family was known to the community as hardworking and respectable. There were never any indications of who he would turn out to be. Boone had a big family and was only one of 12 other siblings. Eventually his family decided to move to Jacksonville, Missouri. Even at a young age, Helm began to create trouble for his town and community. He would oftentimes challenge other men to fights, and enjoyed showing off his superior strength. It is even said one day while Boone was on his horse, the local sheriff came to arrest Boone due to his fighting and behavior. Helm got so angered at the sheriff that he rode away and proceeded to walk his horse into the courtroom during an ongoing session. Boone was always drinking and misbehaving. He loved causing trouble. This was never anything new. But at the age of 23 in 1851, Boone met a girl named Lucinda Frances Browning. She was 17 at the time. Boone and Lucinda had a daughter together whom they named Lucy. Even after becoming a father, it was clear Boone wasn't going to change. His drinking only increased and he began doing things such as riding on horseback into the house, and beating his wife. Eventually Lucinda had enough of Boone's overwhelming drinking and abuse and decided to petition for a divorce. Having no money, Boone's father had to cover the court costs of their divorce, sending his family bankrupt. Helm decided he needed to move away. He decided he would move west and try to strike gold like many thousands of others during the 1850s California gold rush. During the gold rush, over 300,000 people moved to California from the United States and overseas. The 1850s gold rush was one of the largest migrations in American history. So Helm asked his cousin and neighbor, Littlebury Chute, to travel with him to California, and at first Chute agreed. Sometime after though, Littlebury had decided to back out on his decision. Boone, finding out about Chute backing out, let his violent temper take over and he confronted Littlebury, where it is said in an anger-fueled rage he pulled out his Bowie knife and plunged it into his cousin's chest, killing him right away. Even without his cousin, Boone still decided to head west. But Boone wasn't in the clear. Back home, Littlebury Chute's brother and friends tracked down Helm and were able to catch up to and capture him. They brought him back and put him on trial for the murder. During this time though, Boone had began acting very strange and crazed. He was sent to an asylum for the mentally insane for the safety of the prisoners. While in the asylum, Boone appeared to have a breakdown and would rarely ever speak. When he did speak, it was to convince the guard to take him on walks through the woods by the asylum. One day on a walk, after becoming routine, Boone made an escape and was successful. Even with 3 armed guards they couldn't stop him. Boone, sticking to his plans, was eager to head west. After arriving in California, Boone quickly began repeating his violent behavior and tendencies, fighting, robbing and murdering several people throughout his time there. Not much is known about the killings during this time, but it is believed he had killed several people. After being forced to flee, yet again because of his violent behavior, Boone eventually met up with 6 other men. They were headed to Fort Hall in Idaho, but they were in a cold, rough mountain region in the midst of winter. During this time, Boone decided to admit to these men that he enjoyed eating parts of and sometimes all of his victims. It is reported he said to the men, "Many's the poor devil I've killed, at one time or another, and the time has been that I've been obliged to feed on some of 'em. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be getting much sleep after that." Some say that it is around this time that he began to be known as the Kentucky Cannibal. While the group was heading east to Fort Hall, as they come upon the Raft River, they were attacked by Digger Indians. They fought with the Native Americans for several miles. Despite the drawn-out fight with the Native Americans, none of the men in the party were seriously injured. But they were sent running for their lives and became lost in wilderness that none of them were familiar with. It was the midst of winter, with no supplies and the freezing cold. The men decided to kill their horses for their meat. The men also made good use of the horses' hides, by creating shoes to help them traverse the snow. Over the deadly journey, 4 of the 6 men died and only Boone and a man named Burton had survived. Some people believe that Burton and Boone had eaten the other men to help them stay alive, as it was said he promised to eat them if he had to. Being the last remaining survivors, Boone and Burton pushed on, nearly reaching their destination of Fort Hall, but stopped in an abandoned cabin to rest. While he sat in the cabin, Burton was weary and starving. Suffering from his journey, he told Boone to leave him behind. As Boone was outside the cabin gathering firewood, Boone claims that he heard a gunshot come from the cabin. Upon finding Burton dead in the cabin, Boone decided to eat one of Burton's legs. It is also said he cut off Burton's other leg and wrapped it in a shirt to take with him on the rest of his journey. Boone Helm was eventually found living amongst a Native American tribe. He was found by a famous explorer named John Wesley Powell. Powell offered to take Boone to Salt Lake City in Utah, and Boone agreed. But despite the fact that Boone had $1,400 in coins, he never offered to pay Powell for his help. During their travels together, Boone told Powell about what happened to Burton and how he had eaten his legs. I'm sure Powell regretted his offer after that. Once in Salt Lake City, Boone went on to murder more people for payment and for favors. Again, though, his crimes were quickly catching up to him. He was never able to stay in an area long, so he was forced to flee to California. Shortly after arriving in California, Boone met a rancher who he befriended. The rancher agreed to take Boone in and help him out. Despite the rancher's kindness, though, Boone had other plans. After robbing and murdering the rancher with no remorse or reason, Boone went back on the run yet again. Boone made his way to Oregon, where he did what he knew best, robbing and killing people to make a living. It isn't known how many people Boone actually killed, but it's believed to be several. In 1862, Boone got into a fight at a saloon. The man he was fighting with was named Dutch Fred. Without any warning, staring Fred in the face, he took 2 shots, the first shot missing but the second striking true, killing Fred. Now fleeing again, Boone headed north for British Columbia, and he had found a partner to escape with. During this time, Boone and his partner killed 3 people near the area of the banks of the Caribou River, earning the area a nickname that sticks with it even today: Murder Gulch. It is believed during this time Boone also killed and ate his partner. While being asked later about his partner, Boone is quoted saying, "Why, do you suppose that I'm fool enough to starve to death when I can help it? I ate him up, of course." Soon after, though, he was captured by the British authorities and sent back to Florence, Oregon, and put on trial. Yet again, though, his family came to his aid. His brother, who went by the name of Old Tex, is said to have tracked down all the witnesses and paid them a significant amount to not speak. With no conviction, the authorities were forced to let him go. A free man again, Boone headed to Texas with his brother. For years, Boone carried on killing in places he had already been. Eventually, Boone decided to join up with another famous outlaw named Henry Plummer. Boone didn't know it, but this would be the mistake that ended his spree. The gang spent some time robbing together, but it didn't last long. The gang were all captured and arrested in secret. Secret trials were conducted where Boone tried to pin the blame on his friends. Despite his attempts to blame everyone else for his crimes, nobody believed him. His name had already been spread far and wide. In January 1865, the gang was taken by Montana vigilantes to Virginia City to be hung. It is said close to 6,000 people came to watch the execution. Boone was known to have said before his hanging, after watching his friend be executed, "Kick away, old fellow, my turn next, I'll be in hell with you in a minute." But the last thing Boone said was, "Every man for his principles, hurrah for Jeff Davis, let her rip," before jumping off the box before it could be pulled. After Boone's executions, the Victoria colonists rejoiced and wrote, "Hung at last, the notorious Boone Helm, who so long succeeded in escaping the ends of justice, has been lynched with 12 others at Bannack Mines." Overall, Boone was one of the most vicious outlaws who lived simply due to his cannibalism and ruthlessness. Boone Helm is buried in the Boot Hill Cemetery in Virginia City, where he was hung. So what do you think? Was Levi Boone Helm one of the worst outlaws in history? Leave a comment below, and be sure to subscribe for more content.